Welcome to TeamSport Karting Stoke. The pinnacle of karting in Stoke-on-Trent is about 4 miles that way. Witness the thrills of blisteringly slow speeds, track surface slippier than that fox from Dora the Explorer that likes to steal stuff, and more red and yellow flags since the last time Ferrari won a World Constructors' Championship.
Oh, get the yellows off, man!
Nowhere else in this fine, decaying city can you find yourself genuinely excited for karting with your friends at the beginning of one session, only to find yourself sat in the pit lane grieving the death of motorsport itself before the next. Welcome to Perico Karting, and today I'm suffering at an indoor track that feels like it's been raining for 1,000 years. Now, as you can probably tell from that intro, I didn't really have the time of my life at this track, but I'm going to do my best to keep the vibes in this video as positive as I can. I'd show the track layout with an image, but there's only one image on their website, and it's tiny and is incomprehensible when scaled up, so I'll explain with some footage. So we're going to pull out of the pits, it's a straight, into a hairpin leading to an up-ramp, with a long, sweeping right-hander that takes us to another straight, and another hairpin, into a double apex, a chicane, a left-hand turn into a down-ramp hairpin, another hairpin after that, and then a left-hander across the line. To TeamSport's credit, this track layout is actually fantastic. There's plenty of overtaking points on the track, and there's a good balance of technical and fast. Well, there would be if the karts themselves weren't kneecapped to 3-speed in the name of safety. I mean, seriously, to call these things tractors is an insult to the agricultural sector. They're like Roombas with a deck chair taped to the top. No, positive vibes, positive vibes. I think I'm just going to get right into the karting. I'm just going to do all 3 sessions one after the other, and then I'll give my thoughts on the whole experience at the very end. So, it's time to leave the pits and begin the first session. Oh, that is not a happy sounding go-kart, but nevertheless, we pull out of the pits for our first lap, which take place under the yellow flag for some reason, so let's just skip a little bit ahead. The lights have gone green here, and this guy on the racing line apparently hasn't got the memo yet.
Sorry, we're green, mate, move!
I expected him to go, so that's why I hit the back of him. It allowed these two to slip through, but I get a decent switch back on Ryan with a little bit of unwanted contact, but then red flag.
Mate, we were green. I stopped moving, I hit the back of someone already. I had no traction.
After a loving exchange of hand gestures between me and Ryan, we come flying into the down ramp corner, where the guy on the inside loses control directly in the middle of the track, halting my momentum. However, I get a slightly cleaner entry into the second to last corner, then I start bombing it down the straight, taking the left-hander across the line to complete the first lap. On the second lap, Ryan is still behind me at this point, so my target is this guy in front of me. My entry into this corner is completely off because I have not raced on this track before, and my knowledge of lines isn't too sharp by this point. I try and get a decent exit out of this corner using what little knowledge I have, and I have no traction. I try again here.
Mate, this is horrible!
Very vocal about my opinion of this track so far, but coming up to lap 4, I managed to get the inside coming into this corner. I managed to shut him out and take the position from him. I try a different line here, going down the inside for whatever reason, putting him side by side to me. I'm having to take these corners kind of tight just to make sure he doesn't get by, because he is closing in on me and he is faster than me on this track. Here, however, I'm about to make a huge mistake that's going to let Ryan straight through.
I've got no traction!
Ryan remains unfazed by my struggle, flashes me the thumb, and disappears into the distance, which fortunately doesn't last long as I'm able to throw it straight down the inside and essentially take the position back. I flash him a little hand gesture of my own, which you can't see on screen, but trust me, it was annoying enough to him to motivate him to keep chasing after me. Unfortunately, I'm about to make a huge mistake. I try a different entry into this corner and go completely wide because of the lack of traction, basically letting him through. I do, however, have the inside on that corner, which I send it straight down, and the inside on this corner so I can block him out again.
Sorry!
Not the cleanest exit apparently, because I've had to apologise to him for making contact. At least I sound like I'm having fun in the first session, but now that Ryan's securely behind me, it's time to get this guy in front of me. He gets a terrible exit into this corner, meaning I accidentally make contact with him. Fortunately, that also halts Ryan because he's smart enough not to hit me. I carry on chasing the guy as we head towards the infamous down ramp hairpin, which none of us can seem to figure out at the moment. He drops it on the exit here, crashes into me, Ryan crashes into the back of me as well, so I try to go for the inside line with a decent switchback. We're side by side coming into the last corner. Is it just me, or did that sound like a really bad impact? I hope it wasn't. Anyway, I managed to throw it down the inside on this guy, going onto the up ramp, which means I've now overtaken 3 people, and I can start trying to set some decent lap times. However, I didn't, because 4 laps have gone by, and I've not really made any storming progress, but I've now caught up to the back of 2 people. The guy on the left tries to turn a little too early, hits the apex and brakes a little bit hard, so I try and send it down the inside, and essentially get squeezed in between both of them, which was a bit of an awkward exchange, but I now have the inside line, meaning I can very easily overtake the guy in the red, clearing the field a little bit for me until lap 14, where my terrible exit into this corner means that this guy, who has been behind me the whole way, finally manages to get by, and a move that clean deserves a little bit of congratulating.
Good one, mate.
However, on the other side of the sportsmanship spectrum is this. This guy in front of me slows down, I accidentally nudge the back of him, Josh sends it down the inside, sends him into the barriers, and then Ryan forces his way past me with a little bit of contact. Just like I did to him, to be fair. I give him a hand signal. Further into the lap, he loses his back end here, meaning I make contact with him by accident, and then somehow manage to get past him. I try and throw it down the inside to overtake this guy. Josh is absolutely flying ahead of me, so there's not really any catching him, but what's important is Ryan's behind me for once, which is always nice, because it very rarely happens. And it's about to end because he gets a better exit than me, he has the inside line, and he just does Ryan things and starts to disappear into the distance. We go to the down ramp, oh, and it's another red flag. Stupendous. It's time to check in with the boys, I suppose.
Well, this is a...
And chat time's over because it has now gone green again, and it turns into an absolute cluster on the second to last corner, and me not respecting space, I almost closed Ryan out there a bit. Sorry, but now it's time for the first session to come to a close, the checkered flag comes out, and we all make our way into the pits so we can reflect on what just happened. However, we're not going to reflect in this video because we're going straight into session 2.
That was Ryan.
Alright guys, make sure your flags are all down, head out when you're ready, nice and slow on that yellow line.
That lady has a really strict voice, doesn't she? Okay, so the second session begins and we all roll out of the pits for the first lap, which takes place under the yellows. We all, as a cluster, head to the up ramp, which of course requires a bit more throttle. I accidentally back-end Josh. Ryan tries to sneak down the inside, so I just sneakily take my position back, and we all start to roll into the main straight, waiting tensely for the green flag so that we can absolutely send it and try and get past each other. And there it is. I try and send it down the inside of Josh, which unfortunately doesn't go well for me. He holds his position on the outside, and we all come barreling into the down ramp where this guy in the front loses it completely, causing Josh to crash into his back end, causing me to crash into his. But, to be fair, this was more of a casual racing incident, so I'm sure nothing's going to come of that, right? That's a black flag. I'm being black flagged.
Right, you weren't black flags up, you can head back out down if you've got the room. Alright guys, let's keep it at the same time, making way too much contact. Remember, we are a non-contact sport. Try not to hit into people, please, it would be very much appreciated, because I don't want any broken parts, okay? Want to go back out when you're ready?
It'd be nice if you wouldn't brake check me then.
Being black flagged for a minor racing incident was the turning point where I stopped enjoying myself here, but I'm going to do my best to try and keep the vibes as positive as I can, because I am in a bad mood after being black flagged for a basic racing incident. I'm also very much on edge because I've paid £60 to be on this track, and I'm now at risk of being thrown out. What doesn't help is this guy, who bounces off of every barrier and then brake checks me.
Oh, I'm gonna get kicked out of this place if these people keep racing like this.
That concern is then amplified when this guy slows down on his corner exit, causing me to bump into him and someone to bump into me.
Why is he going so slow?
I managed to overtake him, fortunately, but For the rest of this session, not a whole lot of note happened. Ryan gets through me here, and then the guy from before gets through me here, so not a lot happens for a whole bunch of laps until lap 13, where there's a whole cluster of people down here going 3 abreast down to the second to last corner. One of them gets put into the barriers on his exit, and I'm just kind of frustrated by the abundance of traffic, but I managed to overtake 2 of them in the space of 2 corners. That guy slows down in front of me again, essentially blocking my speed. And I have the sneaking suspicion that my seat's been loose for this entire session, so I tried to give it a shake to put it back into position. This guy is pretty decent at defending, however I'm really fond of the dive bomb, so I throw it straight down the inside to get past him, and then I take what is, I believe to be my cleanest lap of the whole session. I take every apex nice and tight, and I get my best exit out of this corner that I've gotten all session. I do bog down a little bit, but that's because I have no traction to capitalize on the exit. A little bit later, I'm following on this guy, who is notably slower than I am, but he's holding his lines pretty well, meaning I can't exactly just breeze by. He does, however, have a terrible exit in this corner, putting me side by side with him going to the last corner, and I managed to shut him off and then take another position going into lap 17. Not a whole lot happened for the next few laps though. I managed to get a decent dive bomb on this guy going to the up ramp, and then on the final lap, just as I cross the line, the yellow flag comes out again, so now I have to do a whole lap under yellows just to get back to the pits. Fun! I love this. Pain.
Nice. Welcome back to session 3 of my least favourite track in the United Kingdom. My battery is running dangerously low for some reason.
Because my battery's so low, I actually lost the part where we rolled out to the pit, so I don't know what lap we're on anymore. So we don't need this lap counter anymore. We roll up the up ramp, waiting for the lights to go green, and there they are. No idea what the yellow flag was about, but I managed to overtake whoever I was driving alongside on the inside, and then spot my next problem, which appears to be a pack of about 5 people. It does take a little while for me to catch up to them though, almost an entire lap later actually, and it's a bit of a cluster coming out of the down ramp hairpin, but the guy in front of me goes wide, meaning I can get the inside line and an overtake. This guy in front of me in the orange helmet is going to turn out to be an interesting opponent, because once I manage to make it past the guy in front of me with another inside overtake, he's the next target, but he is roughly my race pace, so I'm going to have to use my brains a little bit in order to try and get past him. And 100% credit to the guy, because he's got some pace. He takes every corner with a decent entry and exit, and I am ever so slowly gaining on him corner after corner, but it is taking considerable amounts of concentration to do so. I try a tighter exit to get alongside him here, which put me a lot closer than I previously was. However, I don't get close enough to launch an attack until the next lap, where he closes me off on the inside because he holds his lines well enough, but I'm side by side with him here. I try and throw it down the inside for a switchback. I'm on the inside of this up ramp, but I've lost all my traction trying to go up. So he's got more speed than me again, but I've got the inside line. So I do what I do best. I threw it down the inside for a dive bomb, block him out, and that's the position secured. However, I have a slightly awkward exchange with him a little later on when I accidentally brake check him responding to a red light.
That's my bad, mate.
Fortunately, he was pretty cordial about it, so everything went just fine. And the red flag gets lifted, onto yellows, onto greens, and the action continues, putting me right behind Ryan and Josh, but let's be honest, overtaking those two is kind of a pipe dream. A little later, I get a terrible entry into this corner, putting the guy from before side by side to me. He has the inside line and he's slowly picking up speed, which would secure the position. But I switch back on the outside of that corner to get the inside of this one and throw it straight down the inside again to get back in front. There's something about overtaking on the inside, man. It hits me in all the right places. It's one of my favorite moves to do. From this point on though, session 3 was kind of just as quiet as session 2. I continue my drive, accidentally making contact with a couple barriers, taking these two apexes nice and tight before the yellow flags come out right at the start of the track again, meaning I've got to go all the way around on yellows, which isn't that big a deal, but I'm so annoyed by this point that I don't even wait until I'm in the pits to turn my GoPro off. This video has been a little bit tricky to make, if I'm honest, because if you couldn't tell already, if you had your ears closed the whole time, I didn't have a great time here. The track surface, especially on the lower floor, made this an absolute head-scratcher of a drive. The slow speed of the karts meant the experience lost its thrill, and the kind of cold atmosphere of the place really conflicts with the casual vibe they're going for. Not to mention the fact that it cost us £60 to even be on the track, thanks to traffic holding us up getting to the place, and the guy at the desk forcing us to buy a membership so we could skip the safety briefing, only to spend a ridiculous amount of time sat in the pits anyway. But for all my grievances, it wasn't all that bad. Some fairly decent racing happened here. I managed to get some great moves on people, and some people got some great moves on me. You know, that's racing. However, I feel like this place somehow manages to pander to the casual with a safer, slower experience. Something I feel like I'm inclined to complain about when the place has 3 tiers of membership and also plasters Ayrton Senna quotes all over the walls in the bar. But at the same time, it's also strict enough to start waving black flags at an unavoidable bump thanks to the total lack of grip in the lower section of the circuit on a down ramp. I came into this experience already a little sour, and I left feeling like I've been on a diet of limes for 6 months. What is that analogy? I'm probably going to end up coming back here at some point, provided no one from TeamSport Stoke actually sees this video. Which, if someone does, hi! Repave the lower floor, thank you. Until then, I need to restore my faith in karting, and there's no better way to do that than with an actual race. Until next time.